see trees of green, red roses too. I see the moon for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
To understand the secret meaning of the Bible, you have to understand the symbolic language used within it. This symbolic language is one of the oldest languages in the world, and is known as the language of the birds. It is called the language of the birds, as it is the divine form of communication that the angels use. These symbols have been used for thousands of years, across all cultures, as images are understood by all. A good way to briefly explain how the language of the birds symbolically functions is by using a tree as an example. A tree symbolically represents a family. A branch symbolically represents a person of that family. The leaves of the branch symbolically represent enlightenment. The fruit which forms under the leaves represents a person's works, and the seed in the fruit represents offspring. A tree needs the light of God and the water of soul for a tree to produce much fruit and thrive. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto our glory. In this video, I will go over what I suspect is the meanings to some of these ancient symbols. I have also included some recent additions that the Freemasons use in the mainstream media. Water symbolically represents the soul. The soul is a messenger for God. God's expressions come through water or soul. From John 4:14, Jesus said, "But whoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life." From Revelation 17:15, "And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." Proverbs 20:5, "Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water." Psalm 69:1, "Save me, O God, for the waters are come in unto my soul." Air represents spirit. Wind causes ripples in water, or spirit causes ripples in the soul. Air forms compounds with almost all other elements. Genesis 2:7, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." 1 Thessalonians 4:17, "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord." Light represents righteousness, darkness represents unrighteousness. Genesis 1:4, "And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness." 2 Corinthians 6:14, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness?" Isaiah 45:8, "Ye heavens from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness." A rainbow represents an ark of covenant, or the 7 deadly sins. Each color represents a vice. It represents an impure quality. From Genesis 9:13, "I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth." From Revelation 10:1, "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head." Head represents authority. "And his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire." White represents purity, as it reflects all colors. Black represents impurity, as it absorbs all colors. White light is dispersed by a prism into colors. If reversed, the colors can be assembled together to create white light. So to reflect a color means to reject a vice. Absorb a color means to accept a vice. The white light of the sun splits to form the 7 colors of the rainbow. Red represents wrath, orange sloth, yellow pride, green envy, blue greed, indigo gluttony, and violet lust. You notice in the media that lust is associated with red, and that's because the Freemasons reversed this chart as a form of blasphemy. Now I've added in the virtues here, which are the opposites of the vices, and I'll just go through what they mean. Wrath is when you cannot give up your time, when you are impatient, and the virtue of this is patience. Sloth is when you take energy for yourself, you sleep in. Diligence is when you give up your energy. Pride is when you take to feed your ego. Humility is when you give up your ego. Envy is when you want what others have to feel content. Kindness is when you want others to have what you have so that they feel content. Greed is when you take wealth for yourself. Charity is when you give up your wealth. Gluttony is when you take food in excess. Temperance is when you abstain from food. Lust is when you take sex in excess, and chastity is when you abstain from sex. Now these 7 colors are associated with different areas of the body. Lust, gluttony, and greed are associated with the lower parts of the body. Envy is where the heart is. Pride, sloth, and wrath tend to be associated with the spirit. Carbon represents selfishness. Carbon is never mentioned in the Bible, but forms of it are, like coal for instance, and I will go into this in more detail later on. Carbon is present in all known life forms, and in the human body carbon is the second most abundant element by mass after oxygen. At atmospheric pressure, it has no melting point. Fire represents desire. Desire is a sense of longing for something. Desire is the fire that sets spirit or air aflame. For it is hard to contend against a passionate desire, for whatever it craves it buys with its life. Water or soul puts fire out. You've probably also heard of the saying, trial by fire. Isaiah 9:18, For wickedness burneth as the fire, it shall devour the briars and thorns. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as fuel of the fire. Carbon dioxide represents selfish spirit. Carbon dioxide is often given off in fires. We all breathe out carbon dioxide. Fire is the rapid oxidization of a material in the chemical process of combustion, releasing heat, various colors of light, and reaction products. When a fire occurs, the carbon, which means selfishness, in the material combines with oxygen, or spirit, in the air giving off heat, or passion.